You have been in this spot before. The river card hits the board. Your opponent bets. And somewhere deep inside your chest, before you have run a single calculation, before you have thought about ranges or frequencies or bet sizing, something tells you exactly what to do. A feeling, a certainty, a voice that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at the same time. Sometimes you listen to it and win the pot. Sometimes you ignore it and fold, and then watch them flip over exactly the hand you thought they had. And sometimes you follow it blindly and lose everything because it was wrong. The question that nobody in poker can answer cleanly is this: when is that feeling your greatest weapon, and when is it your most expensive mistake? The answer to that question is worth more than any solver output, any training site subscription, any coaching session you have ever paid for. Because intuition at the poker table is not mysterious. It is not a gift you either have or do not have. It is a neurological system that can be understood, calibrated, trained, and deployed with the precision of any other skill. And by the end of this video, you are going to know how to do exactly that. Phil Ivey calls it feel. Doyle Brunson built an entire career on it. Daniel Negreanu has described specific hands where he knew what his opponent had before the river was dealt, and played accordingly. Annie Duke, one of the most analytically rigorous players in the history of the game, wrote an entire book about the intersection of intuition and rational decision-making. Every great player who ever lived has talked about this feeling, and almost none of the training content available anywhere explains what it actually is, where it comes from, how it works, when to trust it, and most importantly, how to make it dramatically more accurate. That is what this video is about. Stay with me, because what you are about to learn is going to permanently change how you make decisions at the poker table. Here is what your intuition actually is, and this is the part that is going to reframe everything you thought you knew about gut feelings at the table. In 1994, neuroscientist Antonio Damasio published a discovery that changed how science understands the human mind. He had been studying patients with damage to a specific region of the brain called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. These patients were intelligent. They could reason clearly. They could explain the correct decision in any logical scenario. But when they faced real decisions involving risk, uncertainty, and emotion, they were catastrophically bad. They made objectively terrible choices again and again. And the reason was devastating in its simplicity. The part of their brain that generates physical emotional signals, what Damasio called somatic markers, had been disconnected from their decision-making process. Somatic markers are the bodily sensations that your nervous system generates in response to patterns your brain has recognized but not yet consciously processed. The slight tension in your jaw when an opponent bets too quickly. The warmth in your chest when a bluff opportunity presents itself perfectly. The hollow feeling in your stomach when a hand that seems strong suddenly feels wrong on the river. These are not random emotions. They are information. They are your brain's pattern recognition system communicating with you through the only channel fast enough to deliver the message: the body. Here's what makes this extraordinary for poker. Your conscious mind can process approximately 40 pieces of information per second. Your unconscious pattern recognition system processes 11 million pieces of information per second. Every tell your opponent has shown in the past 3 hours. Every timing pattern. Every deviation from their baseline behavior. Every bet sizing inconsistency. All of it is being processed continuously by a system running at 11 million inputs per second. And the output of that processing arrives in your body as a feeling, before your conscious mind has even started the analysis. This is what the great players call feel. It is not magic. It is your brain delivering the conclusions of 11 million calculations per second in the only format fast enough to be useful. The question is not whether to trust it. The question is whether the data it is drawing on is accurate, whether it is contaminated by emotion, and whether you have trained it with enough quality experience to make it reliable. That is the difference between intuition that wins an intuition that costs you everything. Let me tell you about a hand that Phil Ivey played in a high-stakes cash game that became famous in the poker world precisely because of what happened in it. Ivey was deep in a long session, several hours in, against an opponent he had been observing carefully since the first hand. On a board of King of Hearts, 7 of Clubs, 2 of Diamonds, his opponent led out with a bet that was technically within range. Ivey called. The turn brought the 3 of Spades. His opponent bet again, this time slightly faster than his baseline tempo. Ivey called again without hesitation. The river brought the Jack of Hearts. His opponent made a large bet. And Ivey, with a hand that had nothing but a pair of 7s, made a call that seemed to defy logic to everyone watching. He was right. His opponent was bluffing. When asked afterward how he made the call, Ivey said something that the poker training industry has never properly unpacked. He said, "I had watched him for hours. Something about the way he bet the river did not match anything he had shown me before. He was doing something different with his body. I did not know exactly what it was. I just knew it did not feel like a value bet." What Ivey described is somatic marker intuition at its highest level of development. He was not consciously analyzing the bet sizing. He was not running a range calculation. He was receiving the output of hours of unconscious pattern processing delivered through a physical sensation. And he had learned through thousands of hours of experience to trust that sensation because he had calibrated it through massive exposure to high-quality competitive experience. The lesson here is not that you should make hero calls on feeling. The lesson is that intuition of this quality is not supernatural. It is built. And it is built through a specific type of experience that most players are not having, even after thousands of hours of play. Here is where it gets practical. And I want you to hold on to what I am about to say, because this is the most important concept in this entire video. There are 2 types of intuition at the poker table, and they feel almost identical from the inside. The difference between them is everything. The first type is expertise-based intuition. This is the real thing. It is the output of unconscious pattern recognition built from thousands of high-quality, attentive experiences. When an expert player gets a gut feeling about a hand, they are drawing on a library of patterns accumulated over years of careful observation. This intuition is directionally correct in high-stakes players approximately 70% of the time, according to research from the Decision Neuroscience Laboratory at the University of Oregon. It gets better the more quality experience feeds it. The second type is emotional intuition. And this is the one that is destroying your bankroll. Emotional intuition feels exactly like expertise-based intuition. It arrives in the body as the same kind of certainty, the same conviction, the same sense of knowing. But it is not pattern recognition. It is emotional contamination. It is the feeling of, I just lost a big pot and I need to win it back, generating the sensation that this bluff is going to work. It is tilt disguised as insight, ego disguised as read, fear disguised as caution. The research on this is unambiguous. Psychologists studying decision-making under stress found that when subjects were in emotionally activated states, their intuitive judgments became significantly less accurate, while their confidence in those judgments remained the same or increased. You feel more certain when you are emotional, and you are more wrong. That combination is the most expensive state a poker player can be in. So here is the single most important question you need to ask before acting on any gut feeling at the poker table. Am I in an emotionally neutral state right now? Not perfectly calm, not completely free of tension, but neutral. Not grieving a recent loss, not riding the high of a recent win, not frustrated with a specific opponent, not anxious about your stack. If the answer is yes, your intuition is more likely to be expertise-based and worth listening to. If the answer is no, your intuition is more likely emotional and dangerous, regardless of how certain it feels. This single filter applied consistently is worth more than any read system, any tell library, any gut feeling training you have ever attempted. Before we go deeper into how to train your intuition to become more accurate, I need to stop and give you access to the complete system behind everything in this video. The frameworks you are learning here, somatic markers, the two types of intuition, emotional contamination filtering, these are part of a complete performance architecture that took months to build and research. The Collection 2 ebooks expand every concept in this video into step-by-step protocols with decision trees, session-by-session exercises, and real hand examples. 10 ebooks plus 5 premium bonus ebooks, $29.89 for everything. Scan the QR code on screen now or use the link in the pinned comment below. And if you want to put what you are learning to use in real poker immediately, join PhenomPoker through my link in the pinned comment or scan the PhenomPoker QR code on screen. Make your first deposit. Email me at junior.placas@outlook.com with a screenshot of your deposit, and I will personally send you Collection 1, 10 complete ebooks, completely free, immediately. No forms, no purchase, just deposit and email me. Now let us build the system that makes your intuition a weapon. Here is the training protocol that elite players use to develop expertise-based intuition and almost nobody teaches anywhere. It is called deliberate attentional practice, and it comes from the research of psychologist Gary Klein, who spent decades studying how experts in high-stakes fields, fighters, military commanders, chess grandmasters, emergency room physicians, develop intuition that works under pressure. His finding was counterintuitive and important. Intuition does not develop from experience alone. It develops from attentive experience. Years of play without deliberate attention to specific patterns produces almost no improvement in intuitive accuracy. But even a few hundred hours of attentive, focused experience can develop intuition that rivals players with thousands of passive hours. Here is what deliberate attentional practice looks like at the poker table. In every session, you choose one specific behavioral signal to track across all opponents. Just one. Not betting patterns, not timing tells, not physical tells, not verbal patterns. One. You might choose, how does each player handle their chips between the time they decide to bet and the time they actually put chips in the pot? You track this one signal obsessively for the entire session. You note what happens in every hand where you observe it. You look for correlations between that signal and the outcome of hands where it appeared. After 30 sessions of this practice with 30 different signals, something remarkable begins to happen. Your unconscious pattern library has been populated with 30 categories of accurately observed behavioral data. And when your body starts delivering somatic markers in response to opponent behavior, those markers are drawing on real information rather than emotional noise. Your intuition has been trained, not accidentally through experience, deliberately through attention. This is how you build the kind of intuition that lets you make the call that makes no logical sense and be right 70% of the time. Not because you are special, because you did the work that most players are not doing at the table. Now I want to talk about the intuition mistake that costs even experienced players enormous amounts of money. Because understanding this will protect you immediately, starting from your next session. It is called the recency contamination trap. And it works like this. You have been playing well for 3 hours. Your reads have been sharp. 2 hero calls that worked, 1 big fold that was right. Your intuition feels calibrated and accurate. And then you take a bad beat, a significant one. Your gut had told you to call, you called, you were right about the hand, but wrong about the outcome. And now your somatic markers are slightly corrupted. When an intuitive decision produces a painful outcome, even when the decision was correct, the brain generates a negative emotional response that temporarily contaminates the somatic marker system. Your body starts to associate the physical sensation of intuitive certainty with the pain of that outcome. For the next several hands, your gut feelings will be slightly less reliable than they were before the bad beat. Not because your pattern recognition has deteriorated, because the signal is running through an emotional filter that is adding noise. Elite players know this happens, and they have a specific protocol for it. Immediately after any bad beat, where they had acted on intuition, they do not trust the next intuitive feeling that arises. They switch to full analytical mode for a minimum of 3 hands, running conscious, deliberate calculations instead of relying on feel. This is not tilt protection, it is signal calibration. They are giving the emotional noise time to dissipate before returning their intuition to active use. Annie Duke described exactly this process in her book, Thinking in Bets. She called it separating the quality of the decision from the quality of the outcome. Great intuitive decisions can produce bad results. Bad intuitive decisions can produce great results. The calibrated player evaluates the decision, not the outcome, and protects their intuitive system from outcome-based contamination. Here is the most advanced layer of intuition training that exists in poker, and almost nobody talks about it. It is called cross-domain intuition transfer, and it is the reason some players develop extraordinary reads faster than others. The brain's pattern recognition system does not operate in separate compartments for different domains of life. The intuitive skills you develop in one area of deep experience transfer partially to other areas that share similar structural patterns. Research on expert chess players showed that their pattern recognition skills transferred measurably to other complex strategic domains, including financial decision-making under uncertainty. Research on experienced emergency room physicians showed that their intuitive diagnostic skills transferred to high-stakes interpersonal judgment. The pattern recognition system itself is domain general. What is domain-specific is the library of patterns it draws on. For poker players, this means something extraordinary. Every area of your life where you have developed deep expertise in reading human behavior, in recognizing deception, in identifying emotional states in others, contributes to your poker intuition. If you have spent years in sales reading prospects, if you have been a therapist or counselor, if you have worked in high-stakes negotiation, if you have been a teacher reading rooms of students, all of that cross-domain pattern recognition is available to your somatic marker system at the poker table. And here is the practical implication. The most effective way to develop your poker intuition faster than other players is not to play more poker hands. It is to deliberately consume high-quality content about human behavior recognition from outside the game. FBI negotiation training materials. Body language research from Dr. Paul Ekman's work on microexpressions. Social psychology research on deception detection. Clinical psychology frameworks for identifying emotional states. Each of these domains feeds your pattern recognition library with human behavioral data that transfers directly to reads at the poker table. The players who develop the fastest and most accurate intuition are not the ones who played the most hands. They are the ones who built the richest and most diverse library of human behavioral patterns. Here is where I leave you. And I want these words to land somewhere deep before this video ends. Every time you have ignored a gut feeling and watched your intuition be proven right, every time you have trusted a gut feeling and lost because it was emotional contamination rather than expertise, every time we'll have sat at a table and wished you could just know with certainty when to trust what your body is telling you and when to override it, you were not experiencing a personal limitation. You are experiencing the consequences of never having been taught what intuition actually is and how it actually works. You know now. Somatic markers are real. They are not mystical. They are the output of 11 million calculations per second delivered through the body, because no conscious channel is fast enough. Expertise-based intuition is accurate and trainable. Emotional intuition is dangerous and indistinguishable from the real thing without the emotional state filter. Deliberate attentional practice builds the pattern library that makes your gut feelings reliable. Recency contamination is a real neurological phenomenon with a specific protocol for managing it. And cross-domain human behavioral learning accelerates your intuitive development faster than any additional volume of hands. The players who understand all of this and build their game around it are not the most technically brilliant players in the room. They are the most dangerous, because they have combined everything the solver teaches with everything the body knows. And that combination, technical precision running alongside calibrated human intuition, is the closest thing to an unbeatable system that poker has ever produced. The complete implementation guide for every concept in this video, the exercises, the attentional training protocols, the emotional contamination management system, and 9 other complete frameworks exactly like this one is inside Collection 2. 10 ebooks and 5 premium bonus ebooks. $29.89. Not for information, for the system that makes your intuition a weapon instead of a liability. Scan the Collection 2 QR code on screen now, or use the link in the pinned comment below. And if you play poker online, join PhenomPoker right now through my link in the pinned comment or scan the PhenomPoker QR code on screen. Make your first deposit. Email me at junior.placas@outlook.com with your deposit screenshot. And Collection 1, 10 complete ebooks, comes to your inbox immediately. Free. No catch. Subscribe to this channel right now if this video gave you something real. Every week we go deeper into the neuroscience, psychology, and philosophy of poker performance. Not to entertain you, to make you genuinely better at this game in ways that no hand history review and no solver session will ever touch. Share this video with one player who trusts their gut at the table, not for the views, because they deserve to know the difference between the feeling that wins and the feeling that costs everything. You came into this video wondering whether to trust your gut. You are leaving with the science to know exactly when to trust it, when to override it, and how to make it more accurate than you ever thought possible.